Alright, hey everyone, this is Ash. Welcome back to the King's Speech. So, as you may or may not have noticed, I've altered my office space a little bit more this week. So, hopefully, I think going forward, this should be the permanent kind of layout. I think it works better with the completely neutral background I've got here and like the way lighting and everything plays off of everything. I think this is kind of the ideal kind of way to go forward with this. So, any feedback on that, as always, is appreciated. Uh, First off, apologies for not having recorded or put out videos last week. Last week was just a little bit rough with personal stuff and some other things, and so I wasn't in the mood and I wasn't really didn't have the energy last week to kind of uh, give the recording the kind of energy and the attention I wanted. So I decided to kind of postpone until this week. I apologize, should have mentioned this at least on my Twitter for an update, but I'll try to be more cognizant and aware of that going forward. I think that'll also be a quick PSA that anyone that's wondering what the status of my videos are, what the reaction upload stuff is going to be, just go to my Twitter account. The link will always be in the description for the videos below. And usually, if you just scroll through my profile, I'll try to update it midweek probably. So every Wednesday, I'll kind of try to update with a schedule of some sort. Just saying, recordings happening on this day. You can expect videos to be out on a certain day. So I'll try to keep that going forward, just so at least everyone has an idea kind of when to expect certain videos and read-throughs and stuff to come through, just to leave a little bit more organized in that regard. But other than that, let's dive back into Battle Angel Alita with Volume 3. I hope you all enjoyed the Volume 1 and 2 review I put out the week before last. I think going forward, I'll probably keep it as a trend to do a volume review at the end of each volume, just because that way it'll be easier when things are fresh on my mind to kind of get thoughts out on the chapters and volumes and stuff. I think it'll make it a little bit easier for everyone that's following along. So without further ado, we're at chapter 24, Dog Master. So you see a bunch of cyborgs just hanging around the corpse of the poor slob that Zapan killed in the last chapter. And one of them's going, "It's Zapan! Zapan's back in town. Look, that's his blade right there. It's an act of vengeance." One's like, "What should we do?" And one of the hunter warriors that looks very much like someone out of a Terminator goes, "What else would we do? We're hunter warriors and he's a mark. We kill him. No fear for old friends. You got that?" And you see this old man coming in going, "Move it, young fella." You see he's got this robotic dog with him. Oh, he's got a bunch of them with him. One that looks like a Doberman, one that looks like a boxer, one that looks like a greyhound, and one that looks... it's like one of those hunting dogs. I want to say beagle, but it's not. It's not a beagle. It's something kind of like that. But and then you see him taking up the knife that Zapan used to kill and giving one of his dogs to smell. And one of the guys goes, "Huh? What do you want, Grandpa? You a hunter or something? Listen, this is our turf. You got that? Find somewhere else to work." And the dogs are not having it. They're going, "Ruff, ruff, ruff," and they start barking aggressively. And one of the hunters pulls out two knives and is like, "Whoa." And then someone goes, "Take it easy." Oh man, and then you have Alita wearing this, black dress and jacket, just looking like an absolute knockout, strolling up to them and going, "You gotta knock it off with this turf nonsense." And the hunter's like, but Alita." And so Alita sadly looks at, the unfortunate victim of Zapan and she goes, "I have a hunch that Zapan's only after me." And the old guy's just kind of silently watching her. And she goes, "I can clean up my own messes." On the next page, you see drugs. Need something to take the fear away? How about this, sweetie? It's called Painkiller. But what it really does is send you up to the clouds. And you have this very stereotypical looking madam, with the sharp fingernails, just taking a drag on. I don't know, she's holding a vial of a drug between her two fingers. And then Zapan's in front of her, his head is just rattling as he's holding it, going, "No, I want a drug that will kill sadness." And so the lady continues, "Then you want this one? Ram it down. We'll fill your mind with the most exquisite visions." "Oh no, baby, this all you got? You can't fly for this cheap." And Zapan's like, "Cut me a deal." And she's like, "Ooh, hang on, sweetheart. What's that you've got there? Let me see it." He's like, no. And so she takes out, was it Sarah's head that Zapan's preserved. And she's like, "Wash is simply gorgeous. Oh, it's straight ghastly. What a piece. Care to make a little swap for what you need?" And Zapan is just like handshaking. He's like, "Give her back." And she's like, "Just between you and me, the only thing that gets me going these days is a woman's cadaver." And then you see Zapan just losing it, his eyes just bugging out of his skull, his teeth just set in a grimace. And as he goes forward, and she goes, "Eek!" And you see a wham wham splur crush. You see blood just being sprayed on the wall. And you see that Zapan's just literally torn her from limb to limb. And he goes and sits down on a crate on the side of the alley. And he goes, "Huh," and he leans his head against the wall. He just slowly is banging it against the wall. And he goes, "I deserve to die like this, Sarah. I'm just your garden variety loser. And yet, for some reason, you tried to help me, to save me. Why did you have to do that?" And then he flashes back to Sarah saying, "You think the same way my father does. He said that a loser doesn't need sympathy. But in the miserable scrap yard, could you really call anyone a winner? So I feel like my mission in life is to bring some happiness, however small, to as many people as I can." And then Zapan's thinking, "And so, you gave up your own flesh and blood to fulfill that goal." And then he starts crying as he goes, "Ha! What a whore you were. I'm sure that if I could talk to you right now, you'd say, 'I was happy to have you cut off my head. I have no regrets.' Heh heh heh." And he throws back his head, just tears streaming from him, and goes, "Kya ha ha ha! But I won't forgive you. Never forget, never forgive." And you see at Bar New Kansas, the bartender's going, "Pardon me, but you're Murdoch, the dog master, right?" And you see the Cossack-looking guy, with the traditional kind of hat that was with the dogs earlier. And Alita's like, "Oh, he's famous?" And the bartender's like, "You bet he is. Murdoch's one of the greatest hunter warriors who ever lived. He was a match for old Clive Lee, the white heat palm master, who died from a lightning strike." And the old guy's like, "Hmm." And then you see Koyomi just running up and going, "Fang, Fang, fa 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 fa." And she just goes and sits on the robotic dog's head and starts playing with its ears. And Murdoch just gives her a grin and he says, "Why aren't you sweet?" Lita's like, "He doesn't seem so bad." The bartender goes, "Sorry about that. Ever since my old mutt died, she calls every dog she sees Fang." And then Murdoch goes, 2 years ago, when Zapan killed that woman and went on the run, that woman was my daughter." Oh, shit. Oh, shit. And Lita's just looks shocked. Murdoch continues, "She was quite a stubborn girl. If she just listened to the wisdom of her dear old dad, she wouldn't have died such a grisly death. Zapan's been on the run ever since with her head in tow." And so he glares at Alita and he goes, "You see what I'm getting at? Zapan is mine. No one else can have him." And you see all his robotic dogs just racing off through the city streets. And you see they're chasing Zapan. He's just splashing through into what looks like some kind of sewer alley. Ha, 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 ha. And he comes to a screeching halt. And he pulls out what looks like a little sharpened nail in his fist. And one of the dogs like, "Grrr." He's like, "Hey, nice doggy." Heh. And he looks up in shock as he hears someone playing some music. And You see Alita with a portable keyboard just off to the side, sitting on one of the pipes, just playing a tune. She goes, "Long time no see, Zapan." And he freaks out with it. Look at Alita! And you see Murdoch's dogs have all just cornered him with a grah and a roar. Murdoch goes, "I've caught you at last. Accept your fate, you damned cockroach. Loud, glory, winner, fury." You see the dogs just slowly advancing on him. And Zapan's like, "Hey!" He's like, "Stay back." Alita's like, "Wait, Murdoch." And he's like, "Hmm?" He's like, "No, he's mine." And Alita goes, "I know, I just need a little time with him." And she goes, "Zapan." And he's like, "Eep." And she's like, "Do you hate me, Zapan?" And he's like, yeah. He's like, I do." And she's like, "Do you want vengeance?" He's like, "Yes, yes, you bitch, you ruined my life." And Alita goes, "Then I'll give you one last chance. From now until I finish this song, you can do as you like." So she goes and sits back down on the pipe and just starts playing the keyboard again. And Murdoch's just staring in surprise as she goes, "Madness, is she just going to let him kill her?" And he sees Zapan just going, "Huh. And he slowly walks up towards Alita. And he's just holding this spike, a little spike nail above him. He's like, "Devil woman, you die now. I'll kill." And you see his hand just trembling as he's trying to decide whether he wants to rail it down on her. So Alita's got her back to him while she's playing the pipe. So Zapan's just holding it behind her head and his arms just shaking. With it, he just falls back into the water with a scream. And Alita just gives him a sad look as she goes, "You poor pitiful man." And you see a roar and as the dogs just descend on him and rip him to shreds. And you see his Zapan's head with his brains just spilling out goes flying off the edge of a little waterfall in the sewers. And Murdoch comes up and goes, "It's over. Come, Sarah, let's go home." And he goes and picks up his daughter's preserved head and then just walks away. And Alita goes, "No one bothers to shed tears for a coward." As we go to chapter 25, Flask of Karma. And you see, so if they come at you with a knife like this, you block it like this. You hook it, then push downward. So Alita's just giving fighting lessons to someone, and she's showing them how to fight with a knife. She's basically saying, like, someone comes at you with a knife like this, you block it, and you push their arm down. And she goes, "Then grab the knife hand with your left, and now you're not grabbing the wrist, you have to get the base of the thumb. Then you twist his wrist inside toward the inside, which breaks the knife free. You slice his throat, and you're done." So she's basically saying, if someone grabs you with a knife, and their hand is like this, you bend their hand like this so that their fingers come free, and they get rid of the knife, and while they're distracted, you just slash for their throat. So it looks like she's giving self-defense lessons, or at least she's teaching the other hunters kind of self-defense and how to fight. And she goes, "Another option, you hook him around the neck, then topple him around to the ground where you can give him the business. Now practice this on your own." And you see Murdoch just sitting off to the side. And you see Koyomi just coming up to him going, "Missa, I got flowers." And he's just kind of crying with, happiness, sadness. And he goes, yes, you do have flowers." And she's like, "One flower for you?" And just so adorably just gives a flower to Murdoch. And he's like, "Oh, thank you." And you see the other hunters from the beginning of the previous chapter going, "Can't believe that's the same old man who's just shooting flames out of his eyes at us. One of the senile old coot. Guess he's gone soft now that he's finally avenged his daughter." And you see Alita going out with a whoa as Koyomi just rushes past her. And then she goes in, lays a flower at Fang's grave. She goes, "Fang's grave and Miss Daughter's grave, rest in peace." Alita's just looking at her and just smiling. And then Shamira runs up, goes, "Alita." And she gives her a package. And Alita's like, "It's from Ito. Why didn't he give it to me himself?" And Shamira's like, "Present from Ito." Shamira is so jealous, so jealous. And you see Alita just reminiscing as she goes, I see. It's 3 years to the day that Ito found me in the scrap files. And you see a boost as Ito's come upon what looks like a mansion. So quick just look at what it looks like. I think someone, just a quick aside before I continue, I think someone asked me in the comments for one of my other videos why I don't show the chapter pages as I'm going through it. That's mostly to avoid copyright issues, because I know of a few other YouTubers that if they showed any of the official manga pages on their channel, they usually get struck with a copyright from the company that published it, either Shueisha or whoever else. Usually hits them with a copyright because they don't think they want that information kind of being distributed on videos like that. So I'm okay with occasionally I will showcase a particular page if I feel like there's something you need to see or I want you to see. If I have a hard time like describing it, or if I just think it's important, I'll just kind of quickly flash the page just to give everyone a glimpse of what it looks like. But I'm not going to display each page of the series as I'm going through it. And this is also because I either feel like anyone that's watching the read-through videos will either already be familiar with the series and hopefully already knows, which sections or which pages I'm going through just with context, or anyone that's watching it for the first time, I hope you're kind of following along as I'm going through the series, with your own copy. So I kind of hope, that if you're doing that, you're actually able to see it as we're just kind of going through it together. If anyone has any opinions on that, please, again, feel free to comment below, kind of let me know, what your take is on that. I'm always willing to kind of reconsider and maybe change my methods a little bit. So if you want me to show more pages or do more descriptions or something like that, let me know in the comments below. I'll definitely take that into account as feedback and kind of try to process it in the best way going forward. But that's kind of my general take on it so far. So you see Ito just continually buzzing, going, that's strange, I wonder if he's not home. And he goes, but I can't just turn around and leave. So he makes his way around towards the back of the mansion, and he's going, I'm here to find a way to buy back the Berserker body. The man who owns this residence, Desti Nova, is apparently from Salem, just like me. Ooh, I do have to give a shout out to my friend Michael, who did point out to me after last week's video that Desti Nova was the one that gave Mukaku his original operation. The silhouettes did look very similar. I did go back and look at that, and it does check out, so I appreciate the heads up for that. So Ito continues, I have to admit, I'm curious to find out what he's like. He performed a brain operation on Jaskun and was most likely responsible for Makaku too. He saved both of their lives, but I sense a kind of malice behind his actions. And then as Ito's going around the corner, you see someone with a hook just waiting around the edge. And it comes down with a giant whoosh. And at the last minute, Ito just turns his head to the side. So the hook just barely misses and manages to snag his hat off. And you see this absolutely just giant man going, hey thief, what's the big idea? He's got a very kind of like ratty face, with bald spot on the top and like just long flowing hair and these thick eyebrows. And he's dressed like a biker with, what looks like a vest and just pants. And you see him just swinging his hook wildly around as Ito's dodging. He's like, wait, no, it's not what you... And you see, as he slams his hook into one of the poles behind him. So Ito pulls out this metal pipe he was carrying, and he just lets the guy have it right between the legs. With a giant, he just bends over double. And Ito just swings around and then circles and brings the pipe right down to his head and knocks him out with a thud. And you see someone going clap, 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 and it looks like Ito's made his way into a storehouse in the back somehow. And you see, Kya, ha ha! Splendid! What an incredible will to resist. Chaos and disorder. I like you. And Ito goes, let me guess. You must be Desti Nova. And he's like, that's me. I am Professor Desti Nova. And who are you? From Salem, I presume? And the little thug was just like bleeding out of his... It's just got blood pouring out of his face. He goes, boss. And Ito's like, actually, I'm only here to buy back the berserker body. I didn't mean to sneak inside. I was just looking for you. As Ito just drops his pipe to the side. And he goes, my name is Ito. Daisuke Ito. And then Dusty just goes, please, come in, my Zalemite friend. So, just a quick look at what Dusty Nova looks like. And you see, how does it look, Eli? Any problems? And you see, none, Professor. It's all shipshape. And so you see this gorgeous looking woman wearing a leotard with almost like a sarong, half sarong tied around her waist. Long flowing black hair. And she's got a little arrow symbol on her forehead. For everyone that's an Avatar fan, that's the same kind of arrow symbol that Aang has, except it's just a short one that does not like a spiraling tattoo. And so Dusty goes, allow me to introduce my lovely paramour and assistant, Eli. So Eli comes up and just wraps her arms around Ito and just brings him in really close and goes, ooh, it's been a while since I've seen a handsome organic man. What are you up to tonight? And Ito just starts blushing. And Dusty's like, come with me, you two. And you see him taking him deeper inside. And you see this railing, and below you see all these robots crying out with a rah! And then ooh! And you see just all sorts of robot body parts being held up with chains. You see, various bits of human body parts. You see a brain with an eye in the middle of it. You see a couple of brains in jars. You see brain stems. You see half robot faces and different body parts all over the place. And Ito's like, what's this? Dusty's like, yeah! Surprised? I don't blame you. These are all failures. And you see one robot with just the brain part attached. And you see just his mouth set in an open grimace as it's going, cackle, taka, 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 taka. And Ito's like, they're insane. You see a bunch of other robots. You see one that's just a mouth with all these small tiny little robot arms coming out of it. You see tiny brains with like the entire human organ system. So you see a set of lungs, kidney, liver, intestines, everything in this pear-shaped little orb. You see these mini ones that look like, what Mukaku look like, which are like little worms with small ass faces and bug eyes. And it's just grotesquerie of creations here. And Dusty's like, being in this room fills me with a sense of piety, I admit. Everything one might find on the surface is here. Love, hatred, open lust, and undeniable madness. And Ito's like, what is the true purpose of your research, Professor Nova? And Dusty just gives him a look and goes, my area of expertise is nanotechnology. I rearrange molecules in whichever way I desire to create imperceptibly tiny little robot servants. But that is only the means. You see, nanotechnology is a nanomachine, hypothetically speaking, is named for being 1 nanometer in size, which is 1/1000th of a meter. The name was coined by Eric Dexler in 1986. So Ito kind of shouts out, the means to what end? And Dusty goes, I can control my servants, ordering them to repair wounds, to sever and rebuild, to manage life and death autonomously. But again, that is only the means. And Ito's like, and what is the end? And you see Dusty going with the kya, and he just starts running off. And then Ito's like, Professor. And he goes, my end, my ultimate goal, you ask, is to conquer karma itself. Is it possible, I wonder, for humanity to master its own karma? For there will be no future for mankind if we do not discover the way to bring our karma to heal. Therefore, I wish to have you observe this humble experiment of mine. And he goes with a giant thwam and just slams this door open. And you see, karma is the sum of activity through actions, words, and thoughts in terms of good and evil. Karma is said to influence the outcome of the events of one's life. The term is from the Sanskrit and means action or deed. So you see on this page, you see this long oval-like brain shape sitting up on this machine with a bunch of wires plugged into the base. And you see, on a panel below it, you see a human mouth stapled there separately with wires running into it. You see the ears and you see two eyes all on this little board just looking, like that. And Dusty runs in and goes, "Awaken, brain!" And you see the eyes just slowly twitching open from their sleep. And then the mouth goes, "Gah, gah." Dusty just pulls at one of the ears and he's like, "Can you hear me?" And with a glurk, the eye comes fully open. And Dusty goes, "Heh heh. When my manservant Bazard found this brain, it was at least a 7 on the damage index. Simply trashed. It would never survive ordinarily. But through the use of nanotech, I've succeeded in rebuilding it to this point." And then Ito goes, "Why? Why would you go to such lengths to revive the dead?" And he goes, "Why else? To test how this brain will choose to fight against its own karma." And then Ito glances off to the side. Oh, man. And you see the scattered bandages with Zapan's little, hook symbol, cross scoop symbol, almost like the shepherd's crook design. And Dusty goes, "Listen to me, brain. You are lucky. What is it you wish to achieve? What would bring you satisfaction? Show me the desire that exists in the core of your heart." And the mouth goes, "Oh, oh, oh." And Dusty goes, "Let me hear the bellow of your soul." And then the mouth screams out, "Vengeance! Give me strength! Strength!" And you see, and you see in the background as the brain, the mouth is just screaming. You see the image of just Zapan's face just screaming out in the background. And he is going, "No, it can't be. Zapan was dead. He must not be brought back to life." And so he picks up a hammer from nearby and he's like, "Get out of the way!" As he goes in to smash it. And Eli just comes out. Eli comes out of nowhere, just grabs Ito by the arm, flips him over, turns him onto his back, and hooks his arm behind him like this to disable him. And then she just lies down on top of him with a hand and just starts nibbling on his ear. And you hear a giant crack. It's like, "Ah!" So I assume she dislocated or broke Ito's arm as she had it behind him. And Dusty goes, "Well, isn't this a surprise? You actually know this brain?" And so Ito goes, "It belongs to a vicious killer. It must be destroyed." And Dusty goes, "I'm afraid that won't be happening. He is my patient. And as of now, so are you." And then you go back to Alita, who's holding open a notebook as she's playing with Shimura and Koyomi. And Kiyomi's like, Alita goes, "Plant 3 seeds in each individual hole." And Kiyomi's like, Komi do." So Alita hands her a bucket and goes, "You go bring the water and a newspaper, Koyomi." Koyomi's like, "Ah!" And then Gonzu shows up and he's like, "Hey, what you doing over there?" Alita's like, "Gonzu, we're planting flower seeds. These ones are called sweet peas." And Shimura's like, "Ito gave them to Alita as a present." Gonzo's like, "Ooh." He's like, "Speaking of which, I haven't seen him lately. What's he doing?" Alita goes, "He left for the northern sector yesterday. He's on a solo mission to buy back the berserker body. I'm kind of worried. He said he'd be back by last night, but I haven't heard a word from him since he left." And then Shimura's like, "Hey Alita, what does sweet pea mean in flower language?" And so Alita's opens up the book, which is How to Grow Flowers and Vegetables. And she goes, "In flower language? Let's see. It says kind memories." And you see Gonzo thinking to himself, "That's Ito, always the romantic." And he goes, "Flowers are a treasure within Scrapyard. Treat them gently." And then the bar Kansas owner just opens up a window and goes, "Hey Alita, someone's here for you." So then you see this scrappy looking boy, with the kind of like the stereotypical like newspaper hat that you see in like what was it, Oliver Twist, kind of like Oliver Twist looking kid. So he's like, so you're Alita? He's like, Ito hired me to bring you to him. Car's waiting out front. And Alita's just like, huh? It's like, did something happen to him? The kid's like, dunno, I got hired over the phone, that's all I can tell you. You see Koyomi just cutely making her belly back with this little bucket just sloshing with water. And she's like, what happened, Alita? Alita's like, I have to go pick up Ito now, honey. Can you handle the rest? And she's like, wait a minute, just wait a minute, I'll be right back. So she goes flying out the window and lands with a boom on the bottom floor. You see this lady going, Alita, how many times have I told you not to use the windows that way? And Alita just vaults into the lower basement window and goes, I'm sorry, ma'am. So she goes into what I assume is her room. And you see a dusty pile of books in the corner. I follow her with a thump. And she's like, stupid, stupid Ito. I told him I wanted to go with him. And so she pulls out this long package that's been wrapped with cloth and tied up. And she hits it with a whap and a poof of dust comes out. See, she's wrapped up her Damascus blade and kept it in storage. So she takes it out of the wrapping and tests the sharpness. She goes, don't worry, I'm coming to save you. And then she goes and just leaps out the window again. The lady's like, Alita! And she's like, sorry. And she goes, let's go. And as she's stepping out, she goes, in that instant, I felt a momentary urge to stop and turn back. And you see Shamira and Koyomi just playing with the pail as they're watering the seeds, going, it's a rainbow. And she's like, a sudden whim caught me, filling my heart with a rush of sentiment. And you see inside Bar Kansas, Gonzo's bought Murdoch a drink. Murdoch's like, oh, this is good stuff. And Gonzo's like, I was going to open it up and sample it once Ito gets back. And so Alita just smiles a little bit tearfully and goes, I love all of you. I'll never let anyone hurt you. And you see, meanwhile, at Destinova's residence, northern sector. You see, what are you going to do to me? Stop, don't do it. And you see Ito's just been strapped down to a chair. His arms and his chest have been restrained with these leather belts. And you see Eli's just getting a needle ready. And she goes, calm yourself down or I'll inject it into your eyeball instead. And he's like, ah! And so Dusty goes, nothing to worry about. I'm only installing about 10 million restorers to fix you up. So you see, restorers is a type of nanomachine that performs bodily repair on the cellular level. People with these nanobots in their body will have dramatically faster self-healing capabilities. You see Dusty's just taking a little spoon and taking a bite out of a pudding going, ooh, he's like, nummy. Oh, no, so he's like, yes, there's nothing like a good baked flan. A good flan always clears my mind. Say, Ito, any interest in being my lab assistant? And Ito's like, absolutely not. And you see Dusty just going over to the side where he's got this man just wrapped, just nailed to the wall. He's got a giant tube just going into the middle of his chest. You see the top half of his brain is just covered by a dome. You see all sorts of plugs and readers and readings and things just going into him, into various parts of his body. And Dusty goes over to him and he goes, there are two kinds of people in the world, Ito. The guinea pigs and the experimenters who have the right to use their scalpels on the former. Once you know the secrets of Zalem, you'll change your mind. But I can't blame you for not being ready yet. And he goes, and now I ought to give this brain what karma has decreed it deserves. As a matter of fact, I've summoned a leader here. It shouldn't take more than an hour. We ought to get this all shipshape before she arrives. And he goes like, you what? And you see with the giant kashunk as you see this cylindrical holding tank with the berserker body inside of it. And Ito's like, you're going to give Zapan the berserker body? Excuse me, I need a drink of water here. And Dusty's like, it is such a tremendously elegant piece of machinery. It stems from the same foundation of nanotechnology, but is conceptually alien to my work. This suit is like one living machine. For whatever reason, the machine cells that wake up this Wetzoik have a built-in program that limits their activities. And now I shall unlock that function. He goes, yeah, ha ha ha, and you see with the schlup, as the machine just starts transforming, and you see all these various body parts and things just starting to melt. And Eli's like, look, Professor, it's melting. And Destiny's like, no, that is its true form. Oh, the excitement, I shiver. My greatest experiment is about to begin. And Ito's like, no, stop this. Do you have any idea what madness you're embarking upon? And you see the berserker body just starting to collapse in on itself and melt down. And you see a crick crackle, you see these veins just starting to make its way out of the containment tank it's in. And Eli's like, Professor! You see, my flan, as these wires just come bursting out of the keyboard as they've made their way out of the tank. And they're just flailing around and hitting everything that's nearby. And Ito's like, here we go. And you see, as the berserker body is just slowly making its way out of the tank. And it's just ripping up all the concrete and everything inside of the laboratory. And Ito goes out, you fool! You've just activated the dormant berserker mode. The berserkers were a chaotic tool of terror in the days of the Space Wars. Fighters sent into enemy territory programmed to indiscriminately destroy and multiply at will once given the proper external command. And so Desti calls out, Bazard, cut the power now! And you see the large sumo-looking guy from earlier going, yes, master! And he reaches over to pull a lever. And you see a giant oof as a bunch of wires just rip themselves out of the ground and just slam into him and send him flying. And you see with a giant boom, that same patch of wires just slams itself into the breaker box. And it starts just absorbing the electricity. And Destiny's like, it's absorbing the electricity. So the red cables are programmed to seek out sources of energy. And the blue cables, and you see a bunch of other wires just making their way towards the containment tank, the cows that's holding together Zapan's brain. And it just jabs into one. It's like, gah! Gah! And you see Zapan's brain just starting to melt and be absorbed into the machinery. And you see the eyeballs and everything that were being held in the other unit just come bursting out. And you see Desti going, they're reaching out to fuse with the brain. No, they're eating it. He goes, so that's how this ancient space weapon worked. I ought to stop it. He goes, sadly, this is my only option. Excuse me. The throat is really dry today. So he goes and pulls out this canister with the liquid and pulls out this giant looking needle gun. Like an actual injection needle gun. He loads the canister into it. And he goes, it wouldn't do to lose my entire lab after all. And you see as he's running towards it, you see an iron beam about to fall on him from above. And you see Desti going, look out, Professor! And she runs into his back and just pushes him out of the way. And you see as the beam just comes down and smashed into the ground, it opens up a hole. And you see that another beam comes down with a kaboom and lands right behind Ito's chair and frees him from his restraints. And you see the little needle gun that Desti was holding earlier comes spinning out to land in front of Ito. And you see Desti's just been crushed under a massive pile of rubble. And he goes, Ito, that capsule contains a cell collapser created from the Berserker's machine cells. Injecting them was the only way to stop it. So Ito goes, okay, and he picks up the gun. And you see a giant womb as a giant ball, like a giant spirit bomb, basically comes shooting out. And he's like, And he goes, it's even causing ball lightning. You see, ball lightning is a mass of plasma that can form naturally in midair during thunderstorms. Ito looks with it, as he sees this giant robotic hand reaching down to pick up an eyeball. And it goes, my face. I can't remember my own face. And you see this grotesque Terminator-looking machinery, with this kind of like almost snake-like looking neck, just looks like a gaping mouth. And then I don't know how many of you remember Resident Evil. If you remember the Lickers, how they had like no no eyeballs on their face. It was just like a massive brain. So that's exactly what Zapan looks like. Is what you see one eye in the middle of his forehead, in the little shepherd's crook symbol he has, and he goes, "But there's one thing I will never forget, for I exist solely to carry out my curse. All I have is my hatred of the woman named Alita." Just a quick look at what he looks like there. And you see Ito rushing forward with the "Yeah!" And you see next page, putter, 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 has the truck with the kid bringing Alita along, comes to Destiny Nova's house. He goes, "Here we are." And Alita vaults out of the back with a whoomph. And she sees, "Oh, what's this?" And she sees at the outside entrance there's just this giant circular patch in the middle of the ground. You see that the wall's been blown out as well in a semicircle. And she goes and looks at the damage. She goes, "It's been melted away into glass." And she sees that the sides of this little half circle where the stone was has just been melted into glass by the heat. And you see that Zesty's mattress has been completely destroyed. Like, it just looks like it's been blown up from the middle. And it's just complete ruins. And someone calls out, "You must be Alita." And you see Dusty sitting off to the side, like a prim little lady, like with his hands like this on his crossed legs. And he's like, "I am Professor Dusty Nova. Sadly, it seems you've arrived just a bit too late." And he goes, "Thank you, boy." And he tosses a payment to the driver who brought Alita here. And she's like, "I'm a girl, dick." So Dusty goes, "We're going to leave this town now." And then Alita's like, "No, wait, where's Ito? What happened to him?" Dusty's like, "Ito?" And you see, give me a second here because we're going into the next chapter. And we're already at 42 minutes, so I'm not sure how much longer this next chapter will be. Give me a second, sorry about this, everyone. I just don't want to run this longer than we need to. I think we're at collapsed now. Yeah, so it's about 40 pages, but you know what? We're just going to power through it. So you have Ito. What happened to Ito? And Dusty's like, "Ito?" And you see Barak coming up from behind with Eli. And they deposit a little container in front of Dusty. And he kneels down. And he's like, "He's here, inside this box." Well, he's like, "What do you mean?" And then Dusty goes, "As I said, Ito's in this box." And Eli's like, "Not a very bright girl, is she?" And she goes, "Take a look for yourself." She hands Alita the box. Alita opens it with a click. And her face is just completely shocked and surprised. And she slams it back down as soon as she opens it. And Eli's like, "Well?" And he's like, and she's starting to have a panic attack. And he was like, "Doc?" And Dusty, like, she's suffering from endorphin withdrawal. You see, endorphin withdrawal, when humans and other animals are around their close companions, their brains secrete endorphins that ease anxiety and produce happiness. When they feel separation from those companions, the brain stops producing endorphins, leading to a kind of chemical withdrawal. Some call this love withdrawal. And Alita's just like, "Lies! This isn't true!" Ooh. And you see Dusty going, "No, it's true. Ito is dead." And inside you see half of Ito's face. The bottom half of his jaw has been blown off, sitting down at the bottom of the bag. And you see just 2 pieces of his hand is all that's left inside what remains of him. And Alita just flops down. She's just got this broken look on her face. And she's like, "Why?" Eli's just like, "Oh, I love watching people fall into mourning." She's like, "Go on, cry for me." And then you have Dusty going, "Ito tried desperately to stop the berserker, but it was in vain." And you see a burst as a spray of blood goes flying. And you see, oh, in the next panel, you see Eli just falling backwards with a giant cut across her neck, just blood sprays out. And you see that Barack has also been cut straight down the middle, and you see a spray of blood coming out of him. And you see Alita just having this rage-filled face as she's taking out the Damascus blade. And she's like, "You did this to him." And she just rushes towards Dusty with an "yeah." He's like, wait, let's not be hasty. And Alita just plants the blade smack in the middle of his face and just completely rips it out and just spins his brains flying with the bush. He's like, and she just drops her sword and she just cries out and screams as she's hugging herself. And you see a giant boom as you see Zapan looking like some kind of hybrid moth creature just flying through the sky in like a ray of light. He's like, ha ha ha, I'm flying. And you see what? As you see a bunch of missiles just streaking towards him with a kaboom, boom, boom. And you see Factory 99, and you see all these robots outside going, Class A violation, unidentified flying object eliminated. Elimination confirmed. Boost. And you see all flying objects within Zalem airspace are shot down by the Netman for Class A crimes. This is why there are no birds in the scrapyard. And you see another boost as the robots just get smacked apart with a boom. You see a bam, ha ha ha. And you see lightning. And you see Zapan in his moth form just brings it together above himself like this, and he just creates this giant orb of plasma, and he sends it flying towards the factory doors. And he just completely blows it open. And then he goes and picks up one of the destroyed robot heads, and he's like, "Which way's the Kansas?" And then you see, next page you see with a giant splash, Alita's just looking in shock with tears streaming down her face. She's like, "No," as Dusty Nova just picks himself back up like a zombie with a drip. And he's like, "But I killed you." And you see that the scar where Alita stabbed him with the sword is already healed. And he goes, "We have a healthy stock of restore nanobots in our bodies. This damage is easily recoverable on our own. But the loss of so much blood does make me feel rather unwell." You see Eli and Barack are also getting up slowly. And Eli goes, "The chill of that metal blade hurts so good." And then Dusty goes, "Ida warned me that you're impetuous, but I didn't expect an attack out of nowhere. But for now, calm down and hear me out. Understand that I am able to bring Ito back to life." Alita's just staring at him in shock with tears still streaming down her face. And then Dusty continues, "Ito died when he attempted to stop the man named Zapan, who was brought back as a berserker." And you see another zap as you see Mothman Zapan just making his way through the city. And you see him slowly transforming his wings coming together to form an arm. And you see this random, homeless woman just staring at him in surprise as he lands. In the next panel, you'll see a giant thud as she's just been burned to a crisp. And Zapan steals her little ratty blanket and covers himself up. He goes, "The berserker body is being utilized to 120% of its capacity, thanks to the force of Zapan's madness. The body can be shaped through its user's imagination, and using that to produce an electromagnetic effect, Zapan can create ball lightning of many thousands of degrees Kelvin. And he lives solely for the sake of vengeance against you, Alita." And you see Zapan was one of the names of the 7 kings, one being Baal, Persan, Beleth, Paimon, Belial, Asmodee, and Zapan, who ruled the 4 directions of hell, according to the demonologist Johann Weah. So you see Zapan's made his way to Bar, Kansas. Alita's like, "Zapan is alive?" And Dusty's like, "You are fated to fight against Zapan. There can be no escape. For Zapan is your karma made flesh. It was you who created that monster. Think about it honestly and you'll agree." And so he goes and brings out some more smaller boxes and he goes, "But there's no fun in a battle without hope of winning. So I'll give you a present to help you stand a chance." And he pulls out this little vial and he goes, "This substance is called Collapser. If you can inject this deep into the berserker body, you might stand a chance of winning." Alita just comes up and grabs him by the scruff of his shirt and just hoists him up. And she says, "You said you'll heal Ito. That's a promise." And Dusty's like, "Yes, have no fear. I've already told him he was my patient." Alita just gives him a glare. She's like, and then she drops him back into the little blood puddle with an ouch. And then the next one you see is in the bar, Kansas. The bartender goes, "Shamira, get the phone." And you hear the phone just ringing with the ring, 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 ring. And Shamira's like, "Okay, okay, okay." And she goes, "Hello, this is the Kansas. What can Shamira do for you?" And you see the very staticky phone saying, "Get, hurry, umming." And so Shamira's just like, "Shamira can't understand. Call breaking up." And she just hangs up the receiver. And you see Alita just desperately calling into the phone going, "Hurry, hurry, get away from the Kansas. Zapan is back alive and he'll be coming there in search of me, please." And she's like, "Damn," as the phone just like beep, 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 beep. And so she runs and leaps into the truck, the little truck that brought her there. And she's like, "Hurry, take me to Bar, Kansas." And the driver's like, "Sure thing." And so Alita's thinking, "It was you who created that monster." And she's like, Can it be my fault?" And she's like, "Please, just be safe until I get there, everyone. Please, God." And then you see Dusty and his Eli just heading to the back, where he's got this giant little monster truck ready to go. And he goes, "Well, I suppose we ought to leave." And Eli's like, "Aren't you going to watch how the experiment turns out?" And Dusty goes, "If the Berserker starts wreaking havoc in the scrapyard, Zalem's forces will be forced to intervene sooner or later. No point in sticking around." And you see Alita just going, "Faster, faster!" on the back of the truck, and the driver's like, "With this hunk of junk?" And you see Zapan making his way into the bar, Kansas, and Shamira's like, "Welcome!" And Zapan's like, "Is Alita here?" And Shamira's like, "Mr. Guest here to listen to Alita sing? Too bad. Alita out at the moment." And so the bartender calls out, "Shamira!" And she's like, "Coming!" And Zapan's about to reach out with the claws. Shamira's walking away. And then Gonzo actually bumps into her and is like, "Whoopsie!" And you see, ooh, boy. The next page you see a whoosh as Gonzo just, the top half of him just goes flying in a splatter of gore. As Zapan's attack Miss Shamira and takes out Gonzo instead. He's like, "Ha!" The bartender cries out with a gun. And you see Gonk as Gonzo's little head plate goes flying into the wall. And Shamira's like, "Ah!" And she screams out. And the other hunters scream out, "Son of a bitch!" And then you see him with a boom as Zapan sets his robe on fire. He goes, "Where is Alita?" And you see the electrical pulse he sent out. He's just causing all the lights to shatter. He's like, "Ha! Ha!" The other hunter's like, "You freaking monster! You don't scare us!" And then Zapan just opens up his arm, creates one of those electrical plasma balls, and you hear boom, buzz, buzz, and the next windows of the bar, Kansas, just explode with "ee!" And outside you see Murdoch there, sitting there just sleeping with his dogs. And inside you just see that the bar, Kansas, has been completely annihilated. There's flames everywhere. All the railings have come down or destroyed. And you see one of the hunters going, "You're Zapan? Drop dead, Goda!" And you see the Berserker armor just wending its way inside the other hunter's body. And it just rips him apart from the inside. Zapan's like, "Hey, hey, and where is Alita?" And you see poor Koyomi just crying in the corner as Shamir's holding on to her, just, frightened out of her mind. And you see Zapan's face is kind of transformed into the aliens from the Aliens, where it's like very elongated towards the front, and he's got little mandibles coming out, little spikes on the face. And for anyone that's a fan of Akira, where the main can't not remember what the main bad guy's name was, but the main bad guy when he starts losing his mind, he starts absorbing the metals. Zapan looks very similar in that he has, the arm is just like mutating out. And the bartender's like, "Hey, settle down, pal. No trouble for me. How about a drink on the house?" And then he just like his hand is just rattling as he slowly pours out a drink. And he goes, "Here, it's the same bottle of good stuff you always wanted to try." He's like, "Say, Zapan," he's like, "you remember the past?" He's like, "When I needed to rebuild this place, you were the one who raised the most money for the cause." And you see Zapan just tenderly reaching out and he just clips the glass with two of his fingers. And you see him thinking. And the bartender looks behind him and he goes, "Go, Shamir. Wiley's calm. Take Koyomi." You see Shamir trying to just slowly drag herself away from behind the bar. And you see the glass explode with a crack as Zapan tightens his fingers. And then he grabs the bartender's head slowly, strokes it for her. He's like, "That's right. I'm the hero." And he slams his head down onto the bar. And he goes, "And the hero always gets his revenge," as he brings his other hand down. He's like, "No, please." And you see a Garchenk as something goes flying by and bites something off the arm. And he's like, "A dog?" And you see, and then you see Murdoch. Oh, man, this is not going to be pleasant. So you see Murdoch coming in going, "So you didn't go to hell yet. You've been wandering around in that ghoulish state. You are still the target of my hunts upon." And you see Murdoch coming back to his old self, with his dogs in tow. And he goes, "Today I will finally send you where you belong." And so he tells one of his dogs, "Protect the children, Fury." And you see Shimura just holding onto the dog's neck, and the dog is grabbing Koyomi by her little lapels as he's taking off. The bartender's like, "Hey, Gramps." And Zapan's like, "Hey, dogs. I have a dog too." What the hell is this? And you see Zapan just holding both of his hands together like this, creating one of those electrical balls. And it takes the shape of this gigantic black dog that looks like a wolf. And Murdoch's like, "The ball lightning turned into a beast? It's a legendary black dog." And then you see Black Dog is a supernatural monster from English folklore. It's known as the Black Shuck in Norfolk, a puka in Ireland, and the Girt Dog in Somerset. It appears along with a bolt of lightning, kills people, then disappears in an explosion of light. It also leaves behind the stench of sulfur. So you see, as the black dog just starts bounding towards them. Murdoch's like, "Winner, glory, loud!" And you see all of his dogs just rushing forward. And then you see the black dog just races through them and just splits them all in half with a giant yipe. As one of them just gets ripped in half. One of them has its head just burst open and comes flying out. And one gets slapped into a wall. And Zapan's just watching as, the bar's crashing down around him. And he's just laughing. And you see Murdoch just slowly making his way up. And he goes, "I swear, no matter what, I'll see you dead." Oh. So Murdoch's tossed a little kind of bowl of wire around Zapan's neck. And he's using that to bring himself closer. And he goes, "I swear, no matter what, I'll see you dead. You deserve death for what you did to Sarah. What you did to my daughter. Monsters like you walk free about your business, and yet good people of true value die left and right. Why is the world this way?" And Zapan's like, "Ha ha, you and I are the same." Murdoch's like, "What?" While Zapan goes, "It is yourself that you see in me. We both loved Sarah, and we both possess such intense feelings of jealousy and inferiority toward her that we harbored a deep desire to kill her." Murdoch's like, "No, I'm her father." And Zapan goes, "And your rage at me is because you're envious that it was I who did the deed. Either way, we are birds of a feather. We are sinners. And in order to ease our sense of guilt, there's a simple solution. Just one scapegoat. Anyone will do. A sacrifice that we might offer up to Sarah's ghost. So let us have our vengeance on Alita together." You see, scapegoat, the term comes from ancient Israel, where a goat was cast out into the desert on a day of atonement bearing the sins of the community as a sacrificial offering. And you see Murdoch just going, I am not like you, and as he pulls the pin from a grenade. In the next chapter, you see just a giant kaboom as a huge explosion rips around the complex of buildings where Bar Kansas was. And you just see all the buildings start to crumble and fall. And you see all this rubble falling down on the graves. And you see, man, this is... And you see the bartender crying out as Shamir and Koyomi are both to be trapped within the rubble, going, Koyomi! And you see a boom, boom. And then the next panel, you see a giant boom as Zapan comes flying out in his Mothman form from beneath the rubble and just takes off flying. And you see Alita's finally there as the truck comes to a screeching halt, and she leaps off it going, move it! And she just has this look of absolute shock on her face as she sees the rubble where Bar Kansas is. She said, Kansas, like, oh no, they're all... And you see a giant kaplunk as behind the crowd of everyone watching the rubble. You see a manhole cover just popping off. And you see the bartender with Koyomi and the leftover dog just pulling themselves out. And then Alita runs up with Shamira, Koyomi, I'm so glad. The bartender's like, no, don't touch them. He's like, look at this. Look what happened to us, and it's all because of you. Oy. And you see Alita just completely broken as she's just taken aback by what's happened. As we get to chapter 27, Scapegoat, and I will cut it off there because now we are a little bit over an hour. I think that's a good cutting off point. Oh boy, this chapter, it's not my favorite arc in Alita thus far. Like, it just hasn't grabbed me the same way the other arcs have, which doesn't mean it's not good. It's just a little bit different. Zapan was never really a compelling or favorite character of mine, so I think that's probably a big reason why this arc hasn't grabbed me as much as the other ones, is because of that. I do like where it's going with the concept of, like karma, morality, like, exploring the ideas of what it means to be a good or bad person and kind of accepting responsibility for, your actions and your consequences. So I like where it's going with the exploration of that. I do like Zapan's little creature design where he's almost like a weird Mothman in some forms. In the other form, he's like a cross between the Predator and Aliens from, Predator and Aliens respectively. Like, it's a weird hybrid of those two. So I'm interested to see where it's going to go from here. I think Murdoch's death has hit me the hardest so far out of it. Ito's death didn't hit me as hard, mostly because I think I always kind of expected him to be alright, but we also don't know enough about Ito at this point for me to really kind of connect with him as a character. So I'm hoping once we get past this, and maybe once Ito gets brought back to life by Destiny, we'll kind of find out more about his past with Zalem and everything else. I have to go back to one of my old videos to see when I made this, or I might have done this on Twitter. I think way back in volume 1, I kind of speculated that maybe the thing with Zalem was messing with immortality and kind of that kind of stuff. And I think the more we read into this, the more I'm getting kind of confirmation that's where this is going, is with the idea that maybe the Zalemites are doing these experiments to try and find immortality in an organic body. So, they're trying to use the nanomachines to always keep themselves repaired and young enough and all that. So I'm curious if that's where it's going to go. No spoilers. I don't want confirmation on that until maybe we get to it. But that's kind of just where my mind is right now. Apart from that, so I hope you all enjoyed this part of the read-through so far. Depending on timing and everything else, to try and make up for last week, I might try to put out another Alita video sometime tomorrow. So this one should be uploaded by tonight at the latest, or tomorrow by today afternoon at the earliest, tonight at the latest. And yeah, we'll also have a volume of, or a video for Vinland Saga up as well this week. So I'll try to do the same for that series as well. I'll try to do a video to make up for last week. Apart from that, I will try to do my best to maintain kind of the one video a week schedule going forward. I'll try to do better about actually updating on Twitter. So say Wednesday sometime, if you want to just go look at my profile page, I'll try to post a confirmation saying, yes, there will be a Battle Angel Alita video coming out on Saturday or Sunday or whenever. I'll try to give you a time estimate saying, it'll be up by 6 in the evening, or 4 in the afternoon or something like that. So I'll try to keep an update of that on Twitter on Wednesdays. But yeah, I don't think there's a way for me to really do that on YouTube. I don't think there's really a way for me to kind of keep track of that on YouTube. So if you want to follow my Twitter, that's probably the best place to keep updates on that. Apart from that, I want to thank everyone for all the support you've been showing my channel in these videos the last little while. I really do appreciate, all the views, likes, subscribers, and all that. And like I said before, if you do like my videos, please do comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, because it does help me kind of, send out my reach to anyone else that might be interested in the kind of content I'm creating. And the more subscribers and stuff I get on my channel, then I can get a dedicated channel, and based on that I can kind of grow it out and try to tackle other different series and reach out to a bigger audience. So appreciate all your support, and I hope you will stick around with me as we continue this journey with Battle Angel Alita. And until next time, this is Ash. Talk to you later.